I've mentioned before about how I am naturally a ginger. I dye my hair black and my beard and even my arm hair and leg hair to match sometimes if I'm feeling really vain about it. But I would never be delusional enough to follow this new TikTok trend in where many red haired people are thinking they're black. Hey everyone, my name's Christian Verstappen and I have a lot to say about many things. I want to talk about this odd TikTok trend, so let's get into it here.
On y'all again. Everyone who is ginger, who has red hair, those are black people. All gingers are black people. If they have red hair, they are black. You see a white man with red hair, that's a black man. You see a white woman with red hair, that's a black woman. Gingers are black. All gingers. I just need to remind y'all again.
Yeah, so it all started with this person who mentioned this and then essentially doubled down and saying, like, no, yeah, gingers are black because there's some heritage and red haired people were on the plantation and things of that nature. One thing that I want to say about this, and okay, so first of all, I want to say people that are like, kind of making fun of this and just doing it in like a lighthearted way, like, oh, I'm actually black or whatever, like, okay, fine. Like, I'm fine with that kind of stuff. I was hanging out with a buddy of mine who's also ginger, but he doesn't dye his hair like I do. He did dye it blonde one time, but regardless, we were hanging out with another friend of ours who's white and another dude who's black. And we were like making jokes about like, oh yeah, no, like and he was like going along with it too because he knew about it. We're all like joking around about it, but like none of us are like taking this seriously or anything. But there are people and people who are like making jokes about it and stuff, things like that, or like, oh, like when am I invited to the cookout or whatever. Like, I that kind of stuff is fine, right? But people that are, you know, I'm gonna sound like the friend who's like too woke here, but and which is you guys know I hate woke scolds, so I'm definitely not that person. But I do want to point out, first of all, obviously there are unfortunately going to be people, and there have been people, which we'll get to an example of later, that have used this as an excuse to just be racist. Like there are a lot of people who are like, "Oh, I can say the N word now," and they're like, "Actually say it," and it's like, "No, we're not." And just to be clear, when I say we and refer to myself as like I said, naturally ginger, this is what I looked like back in high school. And for anyone that wants to say like, "Oh, you weren't like your hair is too dark to be considered ginger, to be considered a redhead." I would agree with you. I would always correct people and say, no, I'm actually auburn, but everyone else called me redhead or ginger growing up, and I got a bunch of like redheaded stepchild jokes and no soul and fire crotch and all that shit. So you know what? I guess I was in fact one of those people. One of the reasons I actually dyed my hair in the first place was to stop being lumped in with redheads. And the fact that I could even do that, this is the part where I'm going to sound like too woke, the too woke friend, is an example of the fact that redhead people being able to jump in on this trend and stuff in a serious way is an example of white privilege in and of itself. See, I can change. Like, let me be clear. Yes, redheads do, and I did personally face a lot of discrimination for having again, in my case, reddish brownish hair, but redheads, yes, again, redheaded stepchild, fire crotch, like all no soul, all that stuff, right? 100% we face that discrimination. We do. There's a huge problem of lack of positive representation, especially male representation of redheaded men or male characters in media. Anytime you see like a redheaded male character in media, they're always like they're a dork, they're some kind of loser character. They're never the main character, they're never the cool guy, they're never anything like that. They're always like the butt of a joke, they're always like all these different things, right? So there is a real problem in that capacity, if you will, in those cases. But here's the thing: as far as systemic issues are concerned, and as well, like there are people who will just like there are like women who like just will not want to date like a guy with like red hair or whatever, right? So those kind of things do happen. But as far as systemic issues, I nor has any other person, red hair, natural or dyed or whatever, has been rejected on an application because our name sounded like a redhead or anything like that. Never have we been. We are generally lumped in with the white community, and let's be clear, because we are white. But let's be clear about this as well. Yes, Irish people and Italian people used to not be considered white at some point. Nowadays, though, and for a very long time, we have all been considered white. It is what it is. Now let's talk about this as well. I think that part of the reason for this is because of this kind of trend that we've been seeing in media for the past like 10 or 15 years or so, where you have all of the, and I've discussed this kind of thing before, right? Changing the race of characters, which on this note real quick, I just want to say people often refer to this as race swapping. I've gotten to the point where I don't even like calling it race swapping because that kind of implies that there's only like one or like two races basically. I think it's better to call it race changing. But this is definitely a trend. A lot of red-haired characters in media have been made black in different adaptations. You know, we've seen it with Starfire. We right here we've seen it with Mary Jane. We see it with like we see it Triss in The Witcher. Although it never got released, the Batgirl movie. I don't know who this character is. It says here, but I can't read it. We've seen it with a bunch of different characters, and I've talked about changing the race of characters in media before, and my take on it is essentially that I don't love it. Like, I would prefer for these characters to look the way that they were originally intended to look. However, it's not the end of the world. It's not something that I'm going to go, cry about or anything like that. It is what it is. Um, Adaptations change things all the time. I'd prefer that they didn't change things that much, but, it's just how it is. So, with that in mind, I think people that get up in arms about this kind of thing are ridiculous, and most of them are very racist. They use it as this, like, example of how, oh, the white replacement or whatever, and it's like, no, that's not what this is. This is just, I mean, let's be honest, it is virtue signaling. 100%. It is virtue signaling from these companies because they want to act like they're so progressive and everything, but then they do all kind of other shit that isn't, progressive or inclusive at all. So it's like, okay, you guys are just like trying to throw a bone to like progressive communities or whatever, and it's disgusting. And a lot of people can see through it, but it's like, it's yeah. But to act like that's not a pattern, that's not something that's real, like, that's ridiculous. Um, that said, so, and like another example I can give of this, because this thing doesn't just happen with like, so okay, let me. There have been people that have said for a while now, and I very much disagree with this, but basically that like redhead, excuse me, redheads are like the black people of white people, which for one is like a really weird thing to say in the first place. But there was this thing where people would say, oh, well, redheads were used in media in place of black people because like they couldn't put like black people in comics or whatever. They couldn't put black people in whatever other kind of media, so they used red-haired people instead, which is like, no, they could just like I'm sure they wanted the diversity, the classic blonde, brunette, redhead diversity, and a lot of things like Charlie's Angels and stuff like that. But I mean, that's not, it's not like they didn't do that because they wanted to use a black person, but instead they wanted diversity, yes, but they didn't, you know what I mean? Like, they didn't say like, oh, well, we actually like this to be a black person. So there are people who have said like, well, Starfire's always been black, or Mary Jane's always been black. I don't agree with those mentalities, but again, I'm fine with these adaptations changing things. I prefer they didn't change how these characters looked, but it is what it is, right? That's kind of my whole take on that part of the discussion, if you will. Now, there is something here that is to be discussed as well, because this has been a moment where this is a terrible place to pause on. I apologize, but there's been a moment, there's been this kind of like thing because of this trend where people have kind of been coming together and realizing that like, yeah, like both black people and red-haired people, again in different ways, have faced discrimination and prejudice and things of that nature. And I think what this girl talks about here is a pretty good thing here.
The girl who said that all redheads are black literally has people on here crying. I just watched a video about this guy named Redheads Rule, and he was crying, talking about the fact that he grew up with a stutter, grew up in special ed. Now he's very successful, but he grew up not feeling loved, not feeling liked by the outside world. This man was crying, talking about the love that he has received just since the girl came out with the video talking about that all redheads, all gingers are actually black. And the amount of gingers that are coming out just celebrating the fact that they can, quote unquote, come to the cookout, the fact that they feel like they belong. And I never even realized, if y'all think back about like Lindsay Lohan and how Paris Hilton and everybody just ostracized her and made her feel like a terrible person, talking about her being a redhead, and just how much redheads don't get so much love. Gingers, whatever one is most appropriate to call them, because I hope I'm not saying the wrong thing. But needless to say, black people are.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. I've heard people say like, "Oh, ginger's a slur." No, it's not. It's like it's weird how some people will say it, but like I don't think that like being called ginger is a slur. And again, I think I have ability to say that. You know what I mean?
One so magical, and two, when I looked it up, I cannot confirm or deny that gingers are actually black, because I saw that it was like a genetic mutation that can exist amongst multiple races. But we're just gonna go with that. We're gonna go with what she said.
So on the part, so yes, there are black people who are gingers naturally as well. We're going to look at some examples in a minute here, but like generally speaking, when you think of a redhead, when you think of a ginger, you think of somebody like pasty white, red hair, generally blue or green eyes. Could have brown eyes though, you know. I actually, when I was like a little kid, I had like super blonde hair, and then it turned to like a strawberry blonde, and then it got a little darker over time. It never would have gotten this dark naturally, obviously, but yeah.
And say that gingers are more than welcome, because I did not really realize just how much gingers did not get love, and gingers felt bad. Like, this man was crying, talking about he appreciates the love that he was receiving because of the fact that he grew up just not being able to read and write and do well in school. He was placed in special ed. This man was crying, like real tears. His name is Redheads Rule, I believe, or something like that. Go look it up, save this video, come back and share your thoughts, because I did not know. And tell me, did you grow up knowing that redheads were just like so put out of place? Because where I grew up, redheads were nice. Like, I had some popular redheads in my high school. Everybody was cool. But I did not know that it was such a bad experience for some of them. And sis just came online and was like, redheads are all black, they're all gingers. And now they have just come out in full joy, just like, we belong, we're happy, we are loved. And yes, you are loved, you are worthy, you matter. But who knew that redheads got so much hate? I completely forgot about the Lindsay Lohan situation with Paris Hilton until now. And it makes me think about like how Britney Spears, how all these people just.
I don't know about the Lindsay Lohan situation, but yeah, no, 100%. Like, I, it wasn't like a constant, like everyday thing, but it was like pretty often got kind of, all these different like redhead jokes, and kind of this mentality was kind of distilled into me, and many people, or instilled into me, and many people that are guys, especially that are redheads, that kind of like, oh, redheads aren't attractive, or things like that, like redhead guys are ugly or whatever. And it's like, and it really did a number on like at least personally speaking, on like my self-confidence and self-esteem and stuff. And I mean, it's wrong, I think it's fucked up. But I don't know where I was going with that. We'll just continue what she's saying here.
Got plagued, and they just went through so much, even though of course they were rich and popular, but I'm just saying they went through so much just being famous in such a time. And who knew that redheads were just going through so much, having naturally red hair, like it grows out of your scalp. But then again, it must be what we all feel, just having natural skin colors that we can't help, and just being ostracized for it.
Yeah, and again, just to be clear on this, the big difference is like, she can't change her skin color. You can only do so much to like, lighten your, like, there are like skin lighteners and stuff that people like, I think in like South Korea or something people use, like India or something like that. There are like whitening skin creamers, but there is no like, if a black person were to do anything to like make themselves look more white, they would not be accepted by white people, broadly speaking. They would be told, you're not really white. Whereas like no one is gonna care if like myself or there have been famous people like um not Emma Watson, Emma Stone. She's naturally redhead. She's been blonde, brunette, like all kind of different things, but she's naturally a redhead. But nobody's gonna say like, oh well, you're not like, oh you're not actually a blonde, you're not actually brunette, like you're a redhead. No one's gonna like derogatory be like, well you can't hide the fact that you're a ginger. You know what I mean? Like no one's gonna do that. No one's, you know, now that I say that, there might be people like who disagree with me like in the comments and be like, oh you can't hide that you're that kind of thing. But like generally speaking, no one's gonna be that way toward like white people who are able to change their hair color. But black people are still going to have that piece that is like they're not going to be accepted in that way, right? Generally speaking, by a lot of racist people, right? So there's a big difference between our experiences here. And again, people that are just like doing this for fun or whatever, like that's fine, you do you. But people who are doing stuff like this is where I take an issue with it. I don't even know if this guy's... Alright, is this it?
Alright guys, all I gotta know, am I doing it right? Yeah. Am I doing it right? It's came to my attention in the last 24 hours that I'm black. I got a lot of mixed emotions. I don't know how to feel about this. There's no directions, okay? There's no...
Yeah, you're about to find out why he has such mixed emotions.
There's nothing telling me what I can and cannot do now. I mean, what do I qualify for? What am I disqualified? What are my disqualifying factors here?
I don't understand this, but there's a lot of white people who are like obsessed with like saying the N-word. It's ridiculous. It's like, why do you want to say it so bad? It's just a word. Like why do you care? Like, it's a word that like, yeah, if you have a certain pigment, it's not socially acceptable for you to say. So just don't say it. Like, it doesn't have to be in our vocabulary. Like, I don't get it.
I mean, I know I get to get the chirp, I got to get a fire alarm, battery going dead. I know this.
I never understood this. And I've never understood like racial stereotypes in general. I for one, they're stupid and like everybody's an individual person that has things that make them up. Like I guess you can find trends or whatever, but like you can find trends among any group of people for anything if you look hard enough. I never understood like the chirping fire alarm or whatever.
Yes,
Same with like the fried chicken and like who doesn't like fried chicken? Who doesn't like, what is it, like grape soda or something? Like who doesn't like that stuff? You know what I mean?
I know the rules. But yeah, guys, I mean, this is some really crazy news coming out here. But anyways, somebody welcome me to the club.
Now, that video in and of itself just, it's kind of iffy. But I mean, even how he's saying, like, what do I qualify for? What is he talking about? Like, qualifying for food stamps or unemployment or whatever? Because he thinks, like, black people are like welfare queens or whatever. And you might think, oh, you're looking too far into this. You would think you'd be correct, but considering he's made videos like this as well, nah, this dude's like a racist piece of shit.
Dad's gonna go kids. Dad's gonna go get some milk. I'll be right back.
Yeah. All right, so.
All right, she's gonna go on for like 2 minutes about this. I don't watch her video if you want, But yeah, no, that's like, come on, dude. Like, you know what you're doing. What is this?
All right, my fellow redheads, I'm gonna give you a little short to-do list. Once you find out you are in fact a black person, okay?
All right. I'll bet he wants to say once you find out you're an N-word. I'll bet he does.
Let's take a look.
Yeah,
go up
check it out, man.
There to your fire detector. Take out the battery. Replace it with a dead battery. We need the chirp, okay?
Okay.
Again, I don't get it. I never understood this thing. By the way, I had that chirp thing for like a week. Fucking hated it. It's the most annoying. I just gotta hate that shit.
Okay, not bad. Not sure the over-explaining it is needed, though.
Woman, hey, what's your credit score?
I'm not liking that disrespect.
Oh yeah, he did something as well, this guy, where he was saying like I want black women to like cook soul food for me or something because like white women can't cook right or whatever, some bullshit like that, like, which is like sexist and racist together. So congratulations, dude, double piece of shit.
We need to go and buy us a Hellcat.
We are treading on unfriendly caricature now.
A Hellcat? Like the car? Is that a black stereotype? A Hellcat? Wait, hold up. He means like a Charger Hellcat? Charger, Dodge, whatever. Is it a stereotype to have this car? It's a nice car. So what? I don't get it. How's that a stereotype? Moving on.
Next thing, kids. Dad's gonna go get some milk. I'll be right
Oh, this is part of that. Okay.
back.
Oh, Christ.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't with these honky-tonk white trash types. What did I say? What did I say? Not even a day ago. Not even a day ago.
Yeah, this guy actually did like a funny video about like redheads being like welcome to the black community. It's actually pretty good. But the dude with long hair here, he's just a piece of shit. What is this?
Notice for making you famous, boohoo. Lol. Y'all still love the curl.
I don't fucking... There are also people saying things like, oh, I always knew I was black because, like, I've always liked, like, black girls or whatever, which, like, a buddy of mine who is ginger, his preference is black women. But still, like, okay, like, obviously that doesn't, like, you know, that doesn't make you black. But, no, and speaking about women there, I wanted to mention about, like, representation of men, redhead men. Representation of redhead women, like, redhead women are often very fetishized, which is also really gross. So it's like, redhead men are seen as, like, very undesirable, whereas redhead women are like, oh, she's a redhead, she's a freak. And people will talk about it the same way they'll talk about, like, black men, like, oh, I've never been with a redhead before, I've never been with a black guy before. People, I don't know, like, I understand if you, like, you know, you want to, you like, you know, we all like certain aesthetics, right? Like hair color, eye color, skin color, you know, body shape, things like that. Like, we all have certain preferences and such. And if you want to, like, experience dating or hooking up with people who have different features that you find attractive, I think that's perfectly fine. Like, if you want to say, like, oh, I'd like to, you know, hook up with or date, like, someone from, like, I don't know, every race or whatever, to see, just to have that aesthetic experience, because, you know, you want to, I totally get that. But if you, but to fetishize it and to do it in that gross way of, like, you know, like, oh, I've never been with, like, guys will do this with, like, Asian girls too, for example, like, oh, she's Asian. It's like, okay, like, so what? Like, you know, if you're like, if someone's, you know, someone is like, oh, you know, I really like redhead girls. Okay. Yeah, like, red hair, I understand how, like, that's attractive, it's, you know, cute, whatever, sure. But if they're like, because they're such freaks in bed, it's like, what? No, like, I understand liking the aesthetic, but when you're, like, weird about it, it's just like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, that's just gross. But yeah, this guy's, like, you know, a racist piece of shit, as you can tell. I don't understand the Hellcat thing. That doesn't make any sense. But yeah, like, as far as the whole, like, the N-word thing, because a lot of people really do just want to say it. John Mulaney has a great bit about that I really like.
Make fun of people, you know, but it's so fun sometimes. I've written for some TV shows, and, you know, on a major TV show, you have to be careful about what you say about people, because a lot of people can get offended, or so it has been explained to me. I was writing for an awards show once, and I got into some trouble. I wrote a joke for this awards show that had the word midget in it. And someone from the network came down to our offices, and he said to me, hey, you can't put the word midget on TV. And I said, I sure would like to. And he said, no, midget is as bad as the N-word. First off, No. No, it's not. Do you know how I know it's not? I said to him, is because we're saying the word midget, and we're not even saying what the N-word is. If you're comparing the badness of two words, and you won't even say one of them, that's the worst word.
Exactly. That's the thing. And like so many of these guys, like so many of these people, they just want to say it. And it's like, why? Why do you need to say it so bad? This guy started watching a little bit of his thing. I don't really know how much.
She said redheads, gingers are black, okay? And it did not matter to us that she was not talking about culture. It did not really matter that she was talking about having a common ancestor. That is an added layer of beauty, for sure. But for us, we've been ready to leave, okay? You said that, and no sooner
Ready to leave the white community?
were the words out of your mouth than we had, you know, divorce papers were served and we were halfway down the block. I cannot stress enough how stupid life is for no personally. You've got people who just can't not bring up that you're a redhead. It's like the scene from Austin Powers when he's like, moly, 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 moly. It's like that.
Oh yeah, so like I had a friend, for example, years ago, I like went into the office and coworker and friend of mine, like they had, I think it was like Halloween time or something, and like they had like candy for us or whatever. So this girl goes and she gets like everything orange, like an orange lollipop, an orange, I don't know, maybe Jolly Rancher, and yes, they do have orange Jolly Ranchers, and orange, like, oh, a bunch of like orange candy, and she's like, here, look, I got all your favorite colors, or your favorite color, and I'm like, it's not. My favorite color is actually black, which is also part of the reason I dyed my hair black. The main reason I added black, though, was because I couldn't decide if I wanted it to be, you know, blonde, brown, you know, whatever. So I went with black because it's like a mix of all colors. It goes with everything. But again, like back then I looked like this. So we're saying that like, oh, here, it's your favorite color, you know, because it all matches my hair. It's like, okay, that's not like, you know, that's not like derogatory, but it's also kind of like, I don't know. I felt some kind of way about it. I didn't really like when people would do those kind of things. You feel me?
It feels like that. And that's before we even get into South Park. Like the same...
Oh my god, yes. No, the fucking Gingers Have No Soul thing from South Park, I think that is a big part of it too. I do think though, again, like a lot of the like hatred that has now turned into like ginger jokes did definitely come from historical discrimination. But like Italians were discriminated as well. So were blonde people, Pollux. That's why you have all the like blonde jokes and stuff like that. You know, or like, oh, I had a blonde moment or whatever. It's like, I don't know. And a lot of these are like those little, like, people call them microaggressions and stuff. They're not necessarily the biggest deal in and of themselves, but it's those things that like when they like add up and they keep building upon each other, that's when it's like, okay, like, what are we doing here? You know?
Jokes for 20 years, never once realizing that the episode was making fun of people like that. People who would do what you've done for 2 decades. And just for me, I don't like the term ginger, okay? Now, that's because the term didn't exist in my world until after that episode. And so everybody who used it was using it as like a pejorative. Now, for younger...
That's fair. I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, like, I don't think that term really existed before, or that I was called it much until that episode either, but I didn't really see it as a pejorative. It was just like, it definitely wasn't good to be associated with or called a ginger, and, but again, nothing compared to the N-word. They're trying to say they're like the same thing or whatever. They're not.
That may not be so true. It's been so widespread in the, you know, the common lexicon that it's just interchangeable with redhead. And that's fine, I guess, but I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people, you know, pushing 30 or in their 30s who are redheaded don't like that term either. And you should know, too, about redheads is that, like, in general, we are just fiery people. Like, don't ever give a redhead an ultimatum, because...
Yeah, so this is another thing. You guys know that I speak a lot against essentialization. I've heard a lot of people saying things also like, oh yeah, like, redheads are always like they don't take shit and like, you know, all this stuff, and they're very fiery and they're very like all this stuff, like, and granted, like, I've always been a very passionate person, but again, especially when I looked like this, I didn't really have much of a backbone. I definitely was very much a people pleaser, kind of let everyone walk all over me, all that kind of stuff. You know, the idea that like redheads are, I don't know. I feel more gross about the essentializing people are doing, where they're like, oh yeah, well, that makes sense because redheads are like this. Dude, it's just a hair color. Like, I've talked about this before too. I think that skin color should be just as innocuous as hair color, eye color, all those different things. I think we should be able to, you know, change our skin color just like we can our hair color. I think we should be able to change our eye color. Unfortunately, technically we can with colored contacts, except that we can't, like, if you're like me and you wear prescriptive contacts, you can't wear colored contacts on top of it. It'd be nice to have, like, colored prescriptive contacts, and, like, it'd be cool if we could change, like, fucking anything about ourselves, but that's not how the world works. And in the world that currently exists, there are these cultural issues revolving around things like taking seriously the idea that redheads are actually black. Again, as a fun joke, that's fine, but, you know.
They're never going to pick the smart decision, okay? When we come up against...
For anyone that wonders why I keep, like, looking around or whatever like this, by the way, my microphone is directly in, like, it's in front of, it's blocking my view of seeing the player. So if I want to see, like, how much is left in the video, or I want to, like, skip around or whatever, I have to do this. So I'm like, or I guess I could go up kind of like that too, but one or the other.
Injustice, we don't call the manager, all right? We're gonna burn the store down, right? Like we're down. We're so down for whatever the cause is. And redheads, if you're watching this, please remember, I know this is fun right now. I know you guys are trying to run with this, and some of you are being just so great with it. Please be respectful. Please be mindful that you are white. Your skin
Okay, I'm glad he said that. Yes, 100%.
is white. You carry that privilege, no matter what TikTok says, okay? Be mindful, be respectful, because at some point, this fun is going to be over, this discourse is going to end, and it would be great if people, non-white people, could be like, ugh, white people. Not redheads, though. You know? Like, I think that's a good target to be trying to hit right now. So, you know, let's aim for it. She said redheads, ginger.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's... Yeah, like, again, people that are having fun with it, whatever, like, yeah, just...
I'm in the comments, I'm searching for
What's this?
my fellow gingers, I'm feeling a sense of community, I'm finding others that are like. She dropped the second one, I said, oh, there's something more to this. She feels more passionate. Maybe I thought the first one might have been, she's just kikiing on the internet, you know? It was just like a passing thought. She just wanted to drop a gem on the internet and keep it pushing. No.
Yeah, apparently that person isn't well, by the way, so that's part of the reason why they said what they did. They did, and no sources, no facts, just like, oh, did you know that redheads are actually black? Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
The second one, she came with facts. The third one, the most recent one,
The third one?
that I saw this morning.
Wait, can I find it? Women, Bridget, why genders are back? Big. What the, why? All Jamaican men? Dude, can we not with... Should poor people have white apology? Oh, Jesus. What are they saying about brunette and blondes?
The brunettes and blondes are going to the gingers. Well, if we can't be black, y'all ain't black. No, bitch, don't try to claim the redheads now. Don't try to be a part of the group now.
Oh my God.
Y'all performatively want to be fucking black.
So do the redheads that are unironically doing this. Like, what are you talking about? Alright. This is insane.
Baby girl came with science.
Oh, did she?
She said, oh no, she said, cited her sources. She's talking about genetics, okay? Who am I to argue with her? Who am I to question her reasoning? I have an identical twin sister with the exact same color hair. We changed school systems in second grade, and on our first day of school, In the back of the bus, the kids called us aliens from outer space. They referenced
Yeah, that's pretty fucked up.
our freckles. They said we were aliens from outer space. But I
Oh,
hope
so that's another thing. Like, as you can tell, I don't really have freckles, and once again, even like back in high school, I didn't really have freckles. But I don't have an issue with like, because here's the thing too, right? You got to think again with like the whole how this is like a white privilege thing. Like, there are white people who dye their hair red. There are white people who like put freckles on and stuff like that. So it's like, there's nothing. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh, that's like cultural appropriation of like gingers. Like, what are you talking? No, that's stupid. Yeah, but I mean, you do you. As far as that stuff goes.
they're on the internet. I hope they've got their ears wide open and their eyes are very clearly seeing what's going on. There's been a shift. It's a new day, okay? We've got community. We are no longer, 1 to 2%, okay? We are.
So one thing I'll say about that is, no, 100%, like, there are less white redhead people, especially in America, than there are black people in general. Everyone's like, oh, well, white people are the minority. They are, like, we are, but red-haired white people, sorry, white people are the majority. We are, but red-haired white people are the minority. So when people say, like, oh, they're like the black people of white people, like, okay, in that aspect of, like, we're the minority, sure, okay, I get that. And again, I know I keep saying we're, and like, it's probably weird to hear that, but again, yeah. So, again, like, yeah, people that are like having fun with it, whatever, that's fine. And I do want to point out again, like, there have been like black people who are naturally redhead kind of coming out too and talking about this, like this girl, who have been, and this guy who are talking about, like, what about black people that are also just like naturally gingers? Like, that does happen. So I mean, I like people that are like making jokes like this, like, oh, we're not an interracial couple, like, we're actually both black. Like, I mean, that's fine, that's cute, right? That's funny. I got two. Yeah, to regard to someone isn't an interracial relationship. No, like, that kind of stuff, that's cute, that's funny, that's whatever. But again, people that are like, again, using it as, I saw this thing where someone was saying, like, I've been hearing people saying things too, like, oh, well, my hair is like crazy, I have to like maintain it or whatever. Like, okay, that still doesn't make you black. That doesn't make it like black hair or whatever. Because, like, again, using myself for an example, when I had my hair like this, I dried it and I brushed it like that, and then I sprayed it. I use hairspray to keep it in place, but like, due to the humidity here in Florida, if I don't spray it, it's gonna be like all over the place. It's gonna be a mess. So like, I get that, but like, what? Like, red hair is not like, doesn't require the same process as black hair, if you will. But yeah, like, obviously there's people who are black and they've dyed their hair red, but there's also people who are like just naturally red hair. And what is this?
Everyone who is ginger, who has red hair, those are black people.
Wider hips. Man, I don't know if you're packing or not. I'm just speaking off of what you can see off of a woman.
Ranking the best gingers are black moments? Oh, okay. Okay.
Gingers essentially are red velvet cake, okay? And what is red velvet cake? Red velvet cake is chocolate cake with red dye.
Okay. All right, go off.
And cream cheese frosting.
Now that redheads are black, we got new rules for y'all white people, okay? No more saying the word ginger.
Hey, look, wait.
Only
another ginger dude with brown eyes.
Black people can say the word ginger. And if you say it with a hard
And no freckles.
It's immediate prison.
So again, like, I people that are, like, making jokes like this, nope, we're not taking the chance.
You're just like...
Just like you, just like, okay.
African Americans plus Mark.
I just
yeah, like, people who are making jokes about it, like, that's fine, that's everything. And look, here's the thing too, like, this idea isn't even really that new, because years ago, and I love this bit, years ago, the comedian Tim Minchin did a great song in one of his stand-up specials, Prejudice, in which I'm not going to play it for copyright reasons, but the whole bit is that throughout the song, he's saying, you know, there's this horrible word that none of us are supposed to say, you know, and there's a group of people that can say it, but other people can't, and he's spelling it out. It's like a couple of G's, an R and an E, an I and an N, and everyone's like, oh, like, you know, what's he getting at here? And then he gets to the chorus, and he's saying, like, only a ginger can call another ginger ginger. And, you know, because those words have the same lettering, just different order of the letters. And it's a really good video. There are there are like a bunch of people who did reactions to it, a bunch of black people especially who have done reactions to it, and they're always cracking up when he gets to the can call another ginger ginger, and then he even hits a part where, like, it sounds kind of dicey, where he says, like, just like only a ninja, like a, you know, ninja with like a sword and shit, can sneak up on another ninja. Kind of sound, you know, you get what he's doing, but, like, the whole thing is, like, playing with this same kind of concept and, like, making fun of it and everything, and it's really good. It's really funny. And my point is, like, this thing of, like, kind of, I don't want to say, like, comparing, like, redheads to black people or whatever, but, like, this mentality has kind of, like, been around for a while, and it's funny when people do it in, like, a fun, jokey kind of way, but just remember, for any, you know, redheads that are, like, participating in this trend or whatever, or you see people or whatever, you know, as long as it's all in good fun, that's fine. But people like that one guy, let me find him again, people like this guy who are just using it as an excuse to be racist and be like, oh, I can say it now. Like, no, you fucking can't. And the fact that people like us, I'm gonna keep coming back to this, can even have the ability to do this is an example of our white privilege in and of itself. So just keep that in mind. This trend, I'm sure, is going to blow over in a little bit anyway. It's not going to be like a huge thing, but yeah. And something else I want to touch on in regards to this whole thing is that, like, people like that guy who are just being racist do not believe this kind of thing at all. Because if they did, why was there so much smoke for this kind of stuff in the first place? Like I said, I don't love it, but it is what it is. But people were sending, like, racist, like, death threats and shit to, like, the actress that played Ariel, Halle Berry, or Haley Berry. I think Halle Berry is the one that was in, like, James Bond and that terrible Catwoman movie and stuff. Haley Berry is the Little Mermaid one. But they were, like, racist to her and to Iris, the actress that played Iris in the Flash. Where was this, like, standing up this, oh, redheads are actually black, when that kind of shit was going on? You know what I mean? Like, again, I totally get it. I don't love it either, but the vitriol, the hatred, the racism that these people were getting, where was this mentality that, oh, redheads are actually black or whatever? Like, it's not true. It's fun to do this little thing, but, you know, it's a lot of these people, especially people like this guy, don't believe it at all. You know, they don't even, yeah. So either way, as always, guys, these are just my thoughts. Let me know what yours are in the comments down below. Follow me on social media for more. Subscribe and ring the bell to stay up to date. Leave a like if you like, and if not, I hope you find something you do like. Later, guys. Peace and love.